Hey, Beauty, I heard this really cool episode on how to improve our memory. The episode also talked about top 10 foods for brain health. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Before I get into the show, I wanted to remind you of my free gift. It is called Holistically Healthy Woman: Four Steps to Move Away from Modern Medicine for Christians. It's a really helpful guide if you even implement one or two things. I think that it can transform your health and the health of your family, the health of future generations. So if you're interested in this guide, go to herholistichealing.com/free. With all that being said, let's get into the show. Welcome to Her Holistic Healing. Do you want more energy and less anxiety so that you can do all the things? Are you searching for meal ideas, essential oils, and other holistic treatments? Do you wish you could know which direction to take with your health so that you could finally feel better? Hey, I'm Alexandra. I love Jesus. I'm a wife, mom of 3, and registered nurse with years of experience in clinical research. I also wanted more energy so that I could have more fun and keep up with my growing child. I too was confused about all the different diet and treatment options. I too wanted to wake up every day and feel good, but I felt anxious because I couldn't solve the mystery of my health. Until God showed me that He is the source of true healing. In this podcast, you will learn holistic treatments and Bible truths that will lead you to the peace, joy, and freedom that you have been hoping for. So what do you say we take a break from the mind-numbing humdrum busyness? Let's rest and let God be our healer and helper. I was listening to the Dr. Josh Axe show. He has a podcast now. I've talked about Dr. Axe on the show, but I didn't know that he had a podcast. So I was listening to his show. His podcast episodes are not numbered. So if you go to his show, there's an episode called How to 10x Your Brain Power and Learn Anything in 15 minutes. He had a guest on his show named Jim Quick. It was a really great show. I think a lot of us can say stuff like, "Oh, I'm really bad with names. Sorry, I won't be able to remember your name." As people get older, they say that they're losing their memory. Their memory is not as sharp. I believe that God made the brain and the body so just just so wonderfully. And when it comes to the brain, what we choose to believe is so important because our brain is always eavesdropping on our self-talk. I think that was part of the episode. The brain is such a powerful thing. What we think is such a powerful thing. I've mentioned this before. If you think about that verse that says, "Be transformed by the renewal of your mind," we can also think about verses that talk about focus on whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, etc. Think about these things. And I believe that the Bible says that because what we think can basically change what happens in our bodies. I don't know what year this was, but there was, I think, a doctor who was treating war veterans with morphine, but he ran out of morphine. So he pretended to give patients morphine, but it really wasn't morphine. However, even though these patients that were in excruciating pain were not given morphine, they felt relief just like the patients that had received the morphine. It's called the placebo effect, right? I've mentioned this before as well, where a bunch of pro basketball players are practicing their free throws. There's a group that practiced free throws for real. They actually picked up a basket and shot all their free throws. Another group who didn't shoot any free throws, and then a third group who just imagined shooting free throws in their heads. The people that actually physically practiced, they improved their free throws. The people that didn't practice their free throws at all, of course, they didn't improve on their free throws. But the people that visualized practicing their free throws, they they improved on their free throws as well, almost as much as the people that physically practice their free throws. You've probably heard a lot of pro athletes visualizing. That's how they improve their game. They visualize making the basket, or they visualize winning the race, or I'm not sure everything that they visualize, but I heard that Michael Phelps does this, the swimmer. So what you think, what you believe is so, so powerful. So if you're telling yourself, I'm too old, I can't remember things anymore, or you tell yourself, I'm bad with names, your brain is going to believe that, and you're probably not going to be good at remembering names, and you're probably going to be more forgetful. But the key is to, like the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Focus on the good, whatever is lovely, whatever is pure. Is it lovely to tell yourself that, oh, I can't remember anything? Is that really going to help you? Is it lovely to predict that you're going to fail at something? I mean, we never know, we don't know the outcome of something. So why just assume that you're going to fail? Why don't you assume that you can do something? So in this episode, Jim Quick, the guest on the Dr. Josh Axe show, he talked about certain ways you can remember things. If you can associate the thing that you're trying to remember with a story or a picture in your brain or a physical sense or something like that, it'll make it a whole lot easier for you to remember it. Fun fact, I have two bachelor's degrees. I have a degree in psychology, one degree in nursing. So when I was an undergrad, I wanted to be a lawyer for abused women and children, but obviously I changed course. I remember taking this class on, I believe it was called memory or something like that. And she said the exact same thing. So studies show that if you make it easier for yourself to remember something, if you associate, for instance, if you meet a person named Gabby, if you make an association with Gabby, like maybe when you met Gabby, she was kind of gabbing a lot, that will help you remember her name. Gabby was gabbing kind of a lot when I met her. That will help you remember her name. So then in this episode, Jim Quick was talking about the top 10 foods that he recommends for your brain. This was so cool because he made it memorable. While I was listening to the podcast, I was multitasking, but after I listened to it, I actually remembered a lot of it. And so I listened to it again while I was preparing for this podcast. I actually wrote down everything that I remembered, and I remembered everything except two things. So his method really does work. So if you're interested in foods that will help your brain, foods that are healthy for your brain, I want you to try this. I want you to try to remember this. I'm basically going to do what Jim Quick did in his episode. So when he's talking about these top 10 foods that are good for the brain, he he associated each of the different foods with a body part. So first, I'm going to name the body part and let's touch each of the body parts together and let's see how much you can remember. Okay, first is the head. So let's touch our head. Then let's touch our nose. Let's touch our mouth. Let's touch our ears, our throat, our shoulders, our collarbone. Move our fingers, touch our belly, and then touch our bottom. So the first brain food is avocados. This is not something that we would do in real life, but let's just pretend that we're rubbing our head with avocado. Let's pretend like we're making an avocado conditioner, okay? So that's the first food, the avocado. I just love avocados in guacamole. I'm sure that everyone makes guac differently, but what I do is I put salt, pepper, cut up some cilantro, put in some raw garlic, and then I put it on Ezekiel 4-9 bread or sourdough bread, or I have it with some chips that are made with avocado oil. Oh, I also put in lime. If I don't have lime or cilantro, I'll use a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of lime essential oil and cilantro essential oil. I'll just dip the toothpick into the oil. So I just get a tiny bit because it can be really strong. So that's the first one. Head avocado. Next one, let's point to our nose. Number 2, nose, blueberries. To help you remember blueberries, just imagine that blueberries are coming out of someone's nose. Blueberries are super delicious. They're full of antioxidants. You can throw them in smoothies, or you can just eat them alone. You can put them in desserts. So that's number 2. Number 3, point to your mouth. Broccoli is also great for your brain. You can imagine that broccoli is stuck in your teeth. Number 4, point to your ears. Number 4 is olive oil. For this, you can pretend that you're cleaning your ears with olive oil, or you can pretend that you have olive earrings. Olive oil, for olive oil, I don't, just FYI, I don't cook with olive oil. I just sprinkle it on pasta or toast or something like that because olive oil is not stable at high temperatures, but it is super healthy for you. That's number 4. Number 5, point to your throat. Number 5 is eggs. Eggs have choline in them, which is really good for cognitive health. For eggs, you can imagine maybe that your eggs are stuck in your throat. Number 6, point to your shoulders. Number 6 is kale and spinach. You can pretend that you have an armor of kale and spinach. So if you look to the left, to your left shoulder, you see kale. If you look to your right, you see spinach. Number 7, point to your collarbone. Number 7, you can think of salmon. Salmon has omega-3s. Salmon is a great fatty fish. For this, you can pretend that maybe you have salmon sushi, you're wearing it as a necklace, and pretend that it's a week old or something, and imagine that you're smelling the salmon. That will help you remember it. The next one, 8, is your fingers. I think I might have forgotten fingers. Well, sorry if I forgot fingers, but number 8 is fingers. Number 8 is turmeric. Turmeric is full of curcumin, which is great for fighting inflammation in the body. I have this really great chicken turmeric recipe with coconut milk. It's really yummy. So to remember this, just imagine that you have that orange turmeric stuck on your fingers and it won't come off. That will help you remember turmeric. Number 9 is the belly. Number 9 is walnuts. I don't know if this is true or not because it's not in the Bible, but some people say that God shaped certain foods. Certain foods are shaped like organs in the body so that we would know to eat them for certain organs of the body. I thought it was a kind of a silly thought, but who knows? Maybe it's true. Walnuts are great for the brain, so are cashews, and walnuts are kind of shaped like the brain. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it is true. I think that is got something that God would do for us. So to remember walnuts, just imagine that walnuts are coming out of your belly. And then number 10 is the bottom. You can touch your bottom. And number 10 is dark chocolate. It's kind of a gross way to imagine dark chocolate, but dark chocolate is great for your brain. Not milk chocolate, but dark chocolate. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I eat dark chocolate made by, I don't know if they say it Hue Kitchen or Who Kitchen. It's HU Kitchen. The HU is short for human. So they sell dark chocolate or cacao without milk and they sweeten it with dates or coconut sugar. They also sell milk chocolate, but I buy their cacao that's sweetened with, I think this one is sweetened with coconut sugar. So now I'm going to repeat it. Let's see how much you remember. Number 1 is head, avocados. You can imagine you're washing your hair with avocado. Number 2 is nose, blueberries. You can imagine that blueberries are coming out of someone's nose. Number 3 is mouth. You can imagine that. Number 3 is mouth. For broccoli, you can imagine broccoli coming out of someone's teeth. Number 4 is ears. Olive oil, you can imagine olive earrings or washing your ears with olive oil. Number 5 is throat. For eggs, you can imagine eggs getting caught in your throat. Number 6 is shoulders. You can imagine that you have armor on your shoulders made out of kale and spinach. Number 7, collarbone, salmon. You can imagine that you're wearing a salmon sushi necklace that's about a week old. Number 8, fingers, turmeric. You can imagine that orange turmeric on your fingers. That won't go away. Number 9, your belly, walnuts. You can imagine the walnuts coming out of your belly. Number 10, bottom, dark chocolate. So those are the 10 foods that are really great for your brain, according to Jim Quick. He just made it so easy to remember those 10 foods. So if you're not eating those foods already, I hope you'll consider adding those foods to your diet. Like I always say, every body is different, so perhaps you might be sensitive to a certain food on that list. If that's the case, then don't eat, don't eat that food. But I hope this was helpful. I hope that you continue to do things that will help you to learn better, remember better. I hope that you will be hopeful and know that God made our brains so powerfully. So I pray that you would be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And I pray that you will focus on whatever is lovely, pure, good, and righteous, like it says in the Bible. Thanks for listening today. If you liked what you heard, will you leave me a review on Apple Podcasts? And if you want to connect with me, join me in my free community. The link is in the show notes, or go to herholistichealing.com. Matthew 11. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls.
For you, it's easy and my burden is light.